Well, hi. So I think we lost Jennifer, but
She'll be back.
she'll be back. She'll be back. So we want to go ahead and welcome you all to the GEG Pennsylvania Reset, Refresh, and Mastering the Google Spring Cleaning. So it's going to be a rapid fire digital hygiene tips. How's that? So let's get started. So we're going to start with talking about what we need to do at the end of the year. So let's talk about reflection, returning all Google Classroom documents, hiding or deleting the classroom calendar, organizing your classroom folder, and copying your classroom, and archiving your existing classroom. There's Jen. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about reflecting. So when we reflect, what are we going to reflect about for the year? What worked? So what worked in your Google Classroom? What didn't work? What are your goals for next year's classroom? And do you have any other notes that you want to reflect on now? So maybe write them down now so that you're ready when the school is starting up, that you know what you ended the school year with. So returning all your classroom documents. So it's important that you return the classroom documents to your students. So your students have turned in their work to you, but have you returned their work back to them? So it's important to return it back because the students cannot access their files unless their work is returned to them. So if they want to reflect on something that they did in your class a couple years down the road from now, if you didn't return it to them, they won't have access to it. Because when a student turns in an assignment in Google Classroom to the teacher, that document becomes the property of the teacher, or the teacher becomes the owner. Until you return that to the student, then it becomes the student's document. So they retain the ownership after you return it. Did you guys know that?
Sometimes teachers ask, like they don't want to see the student work in their drive when they search. So if you return it, then the student owns it again.
Yep.
And a lot of times I'll hear teachers say that, my student says that he can't edit it or do some, to fix it, improve it here at the end of the year before the quarter's over. But it's because the teacher hadn't returned it yet.
Yep. So here's a quick way that you can find out if you've returned it or not. So you can go to the grade tabs in your classroom. And then once you get there, you should see work marked turned in has not. So you can see right there where the finger's pointing, that work's been turned in, or turned in, has not yet been returned to the student. So what you need to do is you need to check the three dots next to the name of the assignment and select Return All. So when you return all, then you're returning everything in that whole assignment for all of your students at once. Once it's been returned to the students, it's marked with a check mark. So if you see that check mark, you know that you've returned it.
And if you're a teacher that uses grades in Google Classroom, there might be a grade there instead of the check mark.
Correct. Good point. And double check to make sure that all the assignments are returned before moving on with your classroom cleanup. Jen, this is you.
Okay, so along with all of our great Google Classrooms, which if when you're a teacher that teaches multiple subject areas over multiple years, you end up with quite a few Google Classrooms. And every single time you make a Google Classroom or you join a Google Classroom, you get a free calendar. And that calendar kind of lingers in your calendar space for quite some time until you decide to do something with it. So the options that you have, and I know I had a colleague today that I was reviewing this with and said, "Oh my gosh, thank you," because my phone defaults to my Google Calendar, and all these old calendars are sitting there at the top. They're not the ones that I necessarily want to see and view. So we have a couple options on how to just quickly hide them. If you would like to delete these classroom calendars, and again, these are for any subjects that you've taught, any classes, any clubs. Anytime you make a Google Classroom, there's one there, and you can delete your classroom calendar. And then if you have so many, I have an option to do it in bulk. So the quick and easy fix, if you're in calendar.google.com, okay, or you use the waffle and go to calendar, you can see underneath that the mini calendar, the month view, where all this animation is happening. You're going to see a list of calendars, and the check marks are there to show you whether or not you can see that calendar in your view of your desktop or your phone. But if you want to hide that calendar from the list as well, so you don't see necessarily the events or assignments that come with your Google Classroom, but you want to remove it from the list, you're going to hover over, and only when you hover over by that name, you're going to see three dots, and you're going to click three dots, and you can hit hide from list. And so that will just get it out of the list and out of sight, out of mind, and you can move on with just the calendars that you need. And you'll do this one by one. If you want a more permanent deletion of this calendar, instead of just hiding it, if you're not somebody who likes to just tuck things away in a junk drawer, which we're going to talk about how you need junk folders in a little bit, you can go ahead and go down to the settings for that calendar, scroll the whole way down, and you're going to hit delete. So we find those three dots again. You see settings, just go the whole way down, and you're going to have an option to delete the calendar, and you can do it that way. So these are the easiest ways, especially if you don't have a ton of calendars from years past. However, if you're somebody like me that gets a ton of calendars, now I will warn you, what I'm going to talk about now is a third-party extension. So you would have to get approval from your district in order to use this if you don't already have privileges to add on extensions and add-ons in Google. But there is one from Alice Keeler called Delcal, like Delete Calendar, and that's an extension. And what we'll do, it will populate once you add it in, and it will come into Google Sheets. As an extension, you can run that extension. It'll give you the sidebar that you see on the side, and it will populate all your calendars into this spreadsheet. And then in column C, you just decide if you would like to delete these calendars or unsubscribe from them, and you hit the button. And I did it again today just to make sure it still works. So it still works for me. But again, if you're using your school account, make sure that using third-party extensions and apps and things like that are approved by your district before doing so. But that was a great way for me to just delete all those old calendars that date way back in time. And I can do every couple of years, I can do it.
That's a good point. Like, checking with your district to see if you have that, because I know in our district, we have to put in tickets to see if we can get an extension approved. So if they read through it and they approve it, then that's great.
Yeah, but if not, those first two methods work perfect.
Yep. Okay, Jen.
And then we talked about hoarding things like calendars. You don't want to hoard your calendars. They get messed up in the list, but we are going to ask you to be a bit of hoarders. And so does Google when it comes to the folders that are automatically created. So from what I understand from the Google Admin Console, as soon as you're designated a teacher in the Google Admin Console, then you get privileges to use Google Classroom as an instructor. Then once you do that and you begin to make your own classrooms, you're going to get a folder that's called Classroom. Okay, and this folder is going to exist in your drive. If you are a type A and like things very, very organized, do not open this folder. There's going to be a folder for every single class. And I think I went in and took a screenshot and I changed the dates. Like I have them going back to 2015 is my first folder in the classroom folder. And then within those folders are the works and templates of all the assignments of all the classes. So that's kind of a box that if you're willing to open and look at, you can. Sometimes we use it to share assignments. I did a video project with 6th grade, so we're going to find that folder through Classroom and change some permissions and ownerships of in a particular assignment, not this Google Classroom folder, but a particular assignment so that they can use it in a few years. So this classroom folder, just don't touch it. Don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it.
Because if you do, it can be trouble.
It can be trouble. It really can be trouble. So just hide it. You drag it down. You can. I actually had mine renamed when I called mine Google Classroom, but I wouldn't even experiment with that. I would just keep it and know that you can't touch it. I wouldn't put anything into it. I wouldn't take anything out of it. Just leave it be. So if you want to hide it even further, we have a couple ideas. So you can put your current classroom folders into a school year folder. And then you can put that school year folder into old classrooms folder. And so you can just kind of just figure out ways to like tuck these away and keep them nice and neat. Judy has some examples up there. So think about it. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
That's
in
you,
Drive itself, it is possible to have so much stuff in your Drive that your Drive will get so slow that it will like time out and it'll look like it won't work anymore. So if you're a person that doesn't have any folders, or like Jen said, you've been using Google Drive for over 10 years, you may need some folders. One thing that I found helpful is a folder that you call it archive, junk drawer, old stuff. That way, if you're not sure if it's okay to get rid of it, or I might need this again someday, which I think every teacher says, put those folders and files inside that. It will shorten the list of folders so that when you scroll through your Drive, it will actually scroll and it won't just pause. I know one teacher, their Drive wouldn't go past a certain letter of the alphabet. And when Google support was contacted, they're like, the list is too long. Like they actually made Google Drive pause. So put things in there you don't use a lot, but you don't want to delete. And then I've got one more for you related to this. Things that people share with you. Everybody has had that experience where there's a shared folder, everybody has access, and that person on your team deleted it. And I know sometimes that happens more than once. So you don't want to be that person. If you're not sure or not, or it's something that you're sharing out to others, so you can't delete it because you're the owner and it would take it away from them. I have a folder that I just call shared files, and I just started piling stuff in there. That works well to shorten up my list again, but much like your Google Classroom folder that you don't want to delete, shared with me, I would say don't even try to organize it. Like if there's something you need to get from there, you can make a shortcut and put it in your Drive, but there aren't enough hours in the summer to clean up your shared with me. Plus, as soon as you start trying to clean it up, your principal is going to share something new with you, and then you're going to have more things in shared with me. So shared with me, I would say, unless there's something you need from there, don't look at it. Don't open it, and definitely don't try to clean it up.
So copy in your classroom. So items that copy are titles, sections, descriptions, course subject, topics, classwork, and your grading system. So in the new classroom, the copied assignments and questions will save as drafts. So when you make that copy of the classroom, you'll have everything that was in your original classroom that falls in these categories saved as drafts in your new classroom that you made a copy of.
And I think that's true of materials as well.
Yes. Items that don't copy, teacher announcements, deleted classwork assignments, your students and your co-teachers don't copy over, student posts, attachments that you don't have permission to copy, and Google Site files. So when you're ready, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the tile in Google Classroom. You'll click on the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner. If you don't see copy, you're not a teacher in the class. So you're going to click on those 3 dots, you're going to go to copy, and then your class will start to copy.
And that process can take a while.
It can take a while. Depends how
hours. Yep.
Yeah. I've even seen it take longer than that, especially at the end of the year.
Yeah. Come back tomorrow and check. Yep. Don't panic if it doesn't complete right away.
Oh, I just want to share a thought I just had. I was wondering why. I was like, wondering why it takes so long for them, but it doesn't take long. Just a tip that we have in our district, and maybe something you want to think about for next year, is that we often do our classes by marking period. So it doesn't take as long to copy. So if that's something in your wonderings of for next year, you could copy the entire class and then just reuse certain posts until you get that marking period, which could slow down or speed up rather the copying process. But just another way that might speak to one of you, that your classrooms don't have to be all year long, that they could be by marking period.
Yeah. So I have teachers do it by marking period. I have teachers that do it all year long. I have teachers that just teach a certain class part of the year and another class for the other part of the year. So whatever works for you is what is best for you. But literally chopping up your class, why not start a marking period fresh? Even if you have the same students, you can just start your classroom fresh. And then there's none of that scrolling down through everything.
And we didn't explicitly say it, but I would venture to say in my district, there's a teacher or two that's still deleting students and replacing the students in the classroom instead of doing this copy process. So I strongly advise against that. Just for when we talk about the mess of the Google Drive and things, I do like copying. I don't necessarily like to copy all of create a new template of everything, because then you'll notice if there's a Google form you use, you now have 5 of that Google form every time you copied your class. Like copying the classroom from year to year, or at least copying it one time for that master classroom that you can reuse the posts from. So I love this idea. I love that you're talking about it. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, and I love the master class idea, because we use that. Right after COVID, we started making master classes so that teachers could just go and grab the assignment that they're looking for and post it in their new classroom.
And so that can be shared. And I think we're in the same page, but I'm gonna explicitly say that, so that if you're teaching, I teach Spanish 1 and my high school counterpart is also teaching Spanish 1, we could have a Spanish 1 master class and we can pick and choose what we want to pull from there. And have our own individualized classrooms, but there's this master class of resources organized by unit, topic, what have you, which will be more visually pleasing probably than necessarily a Google Drive folder, because of all the different things that you can put in it. So sharing that classroom, and summer is a perfect time to create a master class. So when you're scrolling and you see something you might want to try, you can throw it in this master class without committing to it. But you say, wow, that's really great for my unit that comes up in December. And so you can throw that in your master class for December underneath the unit. And then when you get there next year, you'll see that idea might work for you.
So when you make a copy of your class, it's going to name it copy of, and then it's going to be the class name. So after the copy is done, or after you click copy, you can also rename it. So you might want to name it like 2627 test class. And then you don't have to hang around and wait for it. You can leave it, and when the copying finishes, you'll get an email notification. So it could take, like we said, hours or days. And archiving your existing classroom. So after your classroom copy is completed, you are ready to archive your old class. So Once it's archived, the class will no longer appear in the active class pages for the teacher or for the students. So archiving rights, if you are the main teacher, but you have co-teachers, your co-teachers could archive the class and you would no longer see it. But so if you happen to be a co-teacher in a Google Classroom with somebody, I would check with that teacher before you would archive it. The other thing, the class is archived for everyone. So all teachers, all students simultaneously, it is archived for. The students don't have permission to archive or delete a class. Now, only the primary teacher can delete a class permanently. Once a class is deleted, it can never ever be restored again. So if you think there's a possibility that you might want to restore it at some point, then just archive it. Now to archive, it's moved, so the class preservation, it's moved to a separate area and it preserves the materials, the work, and the posts. It won't appear on your active classes page. The materials in the drive, the access to the materials in the drive remains, like we said before, it includes all the assignments and the attachments. It's going to be in your Google Drive in that classroom folder. And then access and restoration, everyone can view the archived class, but it has to be restored to be used again. And then the calendars, the class calendar stays in Google Calendar, but you can manually hide or delete it permanently like we did. So, and archives classes will exist until they're deleted. So recommend keeping them for a few years before you permanently remove them.
Judy, I can't remember. Were you going to say anything about students that get back into archive classes? I know every once in a while a teacher will say they don't want the students to have any access after they leave their class. I guess they're concerned about maybe some cheating or something. So for those teachers, they archive the class, but then they also remove the students. I think something came up one time that a student was going back into the archive and maybe sharing stuff with other students or something like that. But yeah, I agree with Judy. Yeah, I would not delete a class unless it's been a number of years and you're certain you don't need it at all. But if you don't want the students to find it under archive, you can just take the students out. But most students don't think of things like that.
No, of course not.
I love the idea of taking students out because in archiving, like that double protected, because none of us, well, I shouldn't say none of us, but a lot of us are not looking at our Google Classroom notifications over the summer. And so the last thing you want is for students to be inappropriately interacting with each other on your platform, whether you allow them to post or comment. So archiving the classroom and removing all students will definitely solve those problems for you. So do one of those at minimum.
And it's important for you to, I think it's important for you to actually remove the students and also archive the class, because I know that I have students that are in high school who are still in classes from elementary school that teachers did not archive and did not take the students out. And so it's really frustrating for them. And then we have to go from the backside and work some magic to make things happen. But I just try to let my teachers know how important it is to go ahead and remove the students, go ahead and archive the class. And then we're not going to run into that problem down the road. So any other thoughts? Any questions? I don't know if we have any questions out there, but anything else you can think of? Okay.
Not for me. That's all good stuff.
Yeah, the classroom, the copying the classroom, all of that information there this is the perfect time to do that. And I almost want to bring your reflect back up, the first thing you said, Judy, right? Now that we put all these ideas and to the forefront of our brains, that okay, now that you're thinking about your classroom and your drive and your calendars, what worked, what didn't work, were you putting in grades in Google Classroom? or, were you returning work all the time? So creating that mental or physical, to-do list for August, and getting started on any of that now, be it your Google Drive or the classrooms.
No, I think those are all important things. And I do want to say that the year's coming to an end. It's not that far off. So really think about doing this before you actually leave the building. If you don't want to deal with it later, get it done before you leave. And that's it.
Sounds good.
Wonderful.
I hope everyone has a great break. And I'll be working all summer.
Same.
Oh, do we want to mention about our new platform? Maybe we should.
Yes.
It's a great time to do that.
So we have a new platform. Let's see. I'm going to try to pull it up. If you want to talk about it for a second, let me try to pull it up a while.
And this was a change that Google is they're moving the home for the Google groups. So this wasn't like we didn't ask for the change. It was just one of those. Google said, "Hey, we're moving all the groups to a new platform." So if you're familiar with Google groups in your district or you're a member of our original Google group, at some point I expect that's going to be turned off or not be available. So if you were relying on the old group, get into the new platform as soon as you can, because like for this, we'll stop putting information in the old one and you won't get those emails anymore. So jump over to the new one and sign in with your Google account.
So you can get here easily by going to Google for educommunity.com. And then once you're in there, you're going to go to visit the communities. Well, I'm going to log in as myself and all my other things. Okay.
That's
so you're
an
going to
impressive list of logins.
A lot of Judy's.
All right. So yeah, that's awful. Anyway, don't let that bother you. I'm going to click on visit the communities. Now I have access to some communities that you won't have, but what you're going to do here is you're going to go down to the global Google Educator group here, and you're going to join or visit the hub here. And once you get in and you're logged in, you're going to see, first of all, this is the global Google Educator group. So this is where everybody from all around the world is posting some things. And so you're going to see GEG Italy has come online. We just completed a series of level 1 and level 2 certification study hubs. So you can go here, you can see all the recordings and summaries. But to get to the Pennsylvania one, if you go here at the top and go to groups, you're going to see all the many GEGs that are out there. We were one of the first that were in here, but now we're kind of moved down because it's alphabetical, but you can filter by name. So if you type in Pennsylvania, or just type in Penn, then you get Pennsylvania, and then you can click on Pennsylvania and you can see what's happening. What? Reset and refresh, mastering Google spring cleaning. How about that? So you can see that as of right now, we only have 19 members. So I need you to go on here and get an account or just log in with your Google account and then become a member. So when you go to the Pennsylvania GEG, you're going to be able to join here and subscribe. And so that's how you'll be in our group. And then as we post things, you'll get notifications that we've posted something in our group, as well as being able to see what's going on in the global GEG. And then we're going to start conversations in here. So hopefully we can get to the point where we're going to start conversations and we're going to talk about the gems that Eric Kurtz just came out with. And maybe we can get Eric to come on and talk with us. Wouldn't that be a great thing to do? So that's where we're headed. So right now we still have our email group, but eventually I think that is going to kind of go silent. And we're hoping that everybody can get moved over to this digital platform, which I think will be a lot nicer of a platform for everybody.
I agree. I think it's going to keep us more connected and to keep the resources easier to find. And again, that networking beyond Pennsylvania will be great.
All right. Well, I think we're done. So let's say goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.